recording. Okay, can you guys see the modules?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right, where did we even leave off? I was just, it took me till yesterday afternoon to get in. So I've been just trying to get caught up on grading. So I believe we're on module 9. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Oh my goodness. I've been trying to follow everything as best as I can. So I apologize. I am way behind. And I can't remember if it's this class or the other class. We have our honors project. I will scan that for you. Okay. 2 things. So I apologize for whatever fiasco. I'm not even sure what happened. I'm not sure they are either. A couple of things. So we are extending the semester, but things are going to be available if you need to get done sooner. So if you're having any problems staying extra, like we're adding extra week on, I think the last email I read. So if you're having any problems or concerns, please send me a message right away. But we will get to it. So, all right, expressive language, here we go. So we have a session plan due. I'm gonna probably make adjustments to that. If you did it, no worries. I might give more time. And really the challenge was for, obviously when you can't access the content to do anything. So I understand a couple of you emailed me about other things. Although I think everybody was able to take the midterm. So cool, that's great. Really happy to see that. Sorry, I have a horrendous sinus infection and I took my decongestant, so at least my voice sounds better. Okay, on the ASHA website, so expressive language. When we're looking at some of the, anytime you want to find out information, this is the go-to page. Now, a couple people asked, they're like, okay, what do I look under? Okay, so language, it's, you know, it's funny. These are more like topics and issues. And so when we're looking at kind of what's the updated information, typically speaking, they're going to have this. But I want to say when we're looking at like expressive language or receptive language, they've kind of revamped this. It's not as clear cut. And so I kind of go to spoken language disorders from expressive. So a couple different things. When I think of spoken language, I think of expressive language. So again, and when you look at language disorders, written language is also kind of in there. But let's go to signs and symptoms. So this is where we're looking at what kind of language. Phonology, obviously you guys talk about that in 214, and I think in 210 is anatomy, but 214 you talk a lot about phonology, articulation, morphology, and syntax. There is a lot of receptive language stuff on here also, but oftentimes how it works is we're working on receptive and expressive usually always together. The good part is that when we're looking at, do they understand, are they able, do they have the language capability to compose a phrase? Do they have the verbiage? So a lot of times to improve expressive language, we also have to improve receptive language. So that's what the challenge is. And obviously pragmatic language is now a bigger issue than I think it's ever been. And some of this, when I look at some of these things, so you have, what I like about this particular page on ASHA, this was never, I feel like, brought up as much as it is now, because I think we're recognizing and acknowledging it. So pragmatic language obviously is another part of expressive, it's a component of expressive language. And we will talk more about pragmatics in other classes more in depth. But when we're looking at difficulty expressing ideas, feelings, and personal experience, and how you express themselves. So maybe difficulty initiating and sustaining conversations, as well as just limited discourse skills. So another fun word that we use that's kind of generic. So discourse. Discourse is really, hang on, I want to make sure it's recording. Okay, it looks like it is. Okay, so when we're looking at discourse, discourse is kind of what can they relate, especially when we look at a classroom experience. Are they able to explain something? Are they able to retell some information? And then when you look at with your everyday interaction, okay, so can this person come home and tell their family what they did? And this holds true for young clients and old clients. And I say old meaning adults. Can they give the key pieces of information? Are they able to give the relevant information that's important to relay a message? So looking at, and that's kind of more that narrative language piece, but difficulty using language to sequence events of a story. So, or their narratives lack cohesion. So if you've ever talked to anybody and you're missing kind of key pieces. So I have a 5th grade girl who just one of my favorite students. I enjoy seeing her because she's one of those people you see and she just makes you smile regardless of what's going on. It's why she's one of my favorite kids I work with. But boy, it is really hard for me to figure out where her stories begin and end, or if she's talking about yesterday or she's talking about last week. And me and her classroom teacher, we were consulting, and she was saying that she really struggles with knowing kind of time frame. So we were working on kind of that time frame, and she expressively really struggles to get her ideas and thoughts. And also that, of course, translates into her writing. But the good part for her, she does have good pragmatics despite some of her expressive language difficulties, because she is personable and will laugh, engage, has really good what I would call body language. So we were talking about how some of the other students who have much better language skills can learn a few things about her nonverbal language. But I think because her language is poor, sometimes you see, and especially this is especially true for our adult clientele, is if they're struggling in maybe that narrative language piece, they maybe try to make up for it in other ways. So you'll see that a lot too. You'll work with clients who have one component of their expressive language difficult with some strengths in other areas. So the other key piece I want to say that is a consideration when we're talking about expressive language as a whole are the behavioral, emotional, and social considerations. So really, when we have a person with language difficulties, and this holds true for especially our adult population after they've had a stroke of some kind, we're looking at where's their social emotional functioning? How are they able to regulate their emotions? Do they have some self-esteem issues? Kind of that sense of self. Are they having other emotional challenges, bullying, abuse, those kinds of things? And also another group that I think really struggles with expressive language kind of as a whole, again, I'm making gross generalizations, but our clientele that have been in foster care or are in foster care, definitely they've a lot of times have been involved in some kind of trauma, abuse of some type. And we definitely see some challenges with expressive language with that group as a whole. So I definitely know as a supervisor, so I was just telling my SLPA, anytime she hears of a new student that is, we do have a few families that do foster care in our school boundaries. And a lot of times they come in and we don't have their records. We don't know what's going on. And I always told her, we get any new kid, let me know right away so we can kind of screen them. I usually do a language screening of some type with that group just because we know they're at high risk. And it's not just an expressive language, like I said, is more of a general term. And of course, that includes pragmatics. That also includes just syntax, grammar. It's not just those pieces. It's not just verbalizations and like syntax. I think a lot of maybe old school, and I say old school, that includes me. We think of more like syntax and morphological issues with expressive language, but it's more than that. So, oh, it took me back here. Whoops, why is that weird? 1 second. Why does this look different? Uh-oh, better check this out. Oh, here, speech and language approaches. So this is obviously a place, but they have some really good information on the approaches. So if you kind of look for language steps, social communication is really good on here also. Obviously in another class, you might talk about PECs, which is also a type of expressive language, or augmentative and alternative communication, but I want to go to language steps. So when we look at what is this approach? So what I want to tell you is there are a lot of formalized language approaches. I will tell you, typically, we often use a little bit from a variety. But you can kind of look at this like, this is a program, and I feel like it's gaining more. It's really popular with the European therapists. It's gaining more popular. Things like word aware, teach is more what I would say functional communication. Social stories, we'll talk about that in another class also. So this kind of gives you, you know, when you look at language for thinking, this is kind of a specific type of structure, but why do we use this? Who can deliver this? So really, when you look at some of these programs, that's kind of a nice kind of summary of some of the programs that you'll see advertised. And obviously, like I said, most of us therapists use a variety. One minute. Where's the other? That's integrated treatment. That's the other one. The other one came up. This one not download? All right, I have to fix that. That's not coming up correctly. Should be a PDF. So is anybody able to download this or look at this? I don't know why it's open.
Yes, I did.
Can everybody see it? It should have been a PDF you can print out.
I did print it out.
So can you? I don't know why this looks weird.
I'm
not sure. Okay, can you see that? So a couple different things. Building blocks to language. Obviously, let's just know they have receptive language difficulties, they will likely have expressive. And then when you look at this, what are some expressive language issues? So difficulty naming items. So they're not able to verbally say the word, or the word doesn't come to them. So a lot of times when you're working on goals, so when we're looking at the goal, says the client will identify like common household objects, let's say. All we're looking for, can they point, can they go get them? Naming them is kind of a different neurological pathway. So can they name them? So we really do a lot of that with our aphasia clients. Like if they can't link words together or use sentences that are shorter than others of the same age. So if their sentences are very short, so like 2 or 3 words, you know, jargon, kind of maybe made up, produce sentences that are muddled. So the wrong word order, the wrong way in which we say something, difficulty finding the right words to use in conversation. So maybe they'll substitute a different word. Again, I feel like that's really, I see it in children a lot too, but when you work with an adult and then they were, you know, average language abilities, and then when they have like a stroke or some kind of head injury and then they struggle, it definitely will show up more. I think you can flag it a lot easier as a therapist. So oftentimes what happens is a kid might substitute a word, but it seems that's what they meant to say, versus an adult where we'll catch it more. They'll catch and say, no, that's not what I meant to say. I meant to say other things. So sometimes in kids, we miss it more than we maybe should. And then difficulty retelling a story. So I don't know if, Lord, any of you become my SLPA, you will see retell a story as a goal. It's, we laugh because my co-therapist, she always knows the goals that I write. And, you know, we service over 100 kids. So we're always writing IEPs, and every now and then we, you know, cover for each other. I'll do an IEP for a kid that she didn't necessarily, you know, that she services because she couldn't go or whatever. And then she'll often see, oh, but I knew you were at that meeting because you wrote, you know, retell a story goal. So I really like that. I think it's a good bang for your buck as far as expressive language goal goes, because obviously I work with children more, but even adults too. If you work with adult and adult rehab, what is everybody's parent, significant other? I want them to be able to come home and tell me about their day. I want to know what happened. I want to know, you know, tell me a story about, you know, what was the problem today? What was good today? And that seems to be a common theme from family members, regardless of the age of the client. So retelling a story is key, I think, from that social emotional communication piece. So some other things too, we'll see, oftentimes you see problems with literacy, writing for sure. And then when you kind of look at too is some other factors come in there, some, you know, fluency, how do they say their words? Does it come out? And then that kind of, it's compounded. So let's say a client has an expressive language issue and now they're having fluency troubles. We often see those go hand in hand. I mean, there is just stuttering, and I hate to ever say just because it's not just, it's they're stuttering without a language impairment, but oftentimes we see language impairment and then we see stuttering on top of that. So it's always good to have that expressive language data. So as your supervisor should be doing a language eval for anybody that's stuttering, just to make sure we're not missing that piece. What can we do to improve expressive language? Obviously, really focusing on the message, minimizing distractions. Books is probably the #1 way to improve language, for them to listen, for them to engage with the book, retell. And that's true for young and old. I gotta start saying young and adults, so I apologize. And then other activities. So a lot of times what I like to do when I work on expressive, obviously naming items. I might give them clues as to what it is. So, you know, I Spy is a fun one. Usually kids have played that before they see you as a therapist. Giving them the cues and then they can name it. You know, asking questions. So even a simple rote asking questions. So go fish is always fun because they have to formulate a question. And then they have a visual usually, you know, do you have whatever. This one little kid, he always asks for go fish and he works on the K sound. So he's, you know, do you have his favorite word? Do you have a kazoo? So that's what's nice too. Sometimes when you do things that are repetitive, that starts to help them figure out how to compose a novel question or a novel sentence. So sometimes you use things where they have to just change the word, and then that's where you kind of work on those carrier phrases. So sometimes you have a phrase like, you know, I'll use a simple one. I see, what do you see? You know, I need whatever, or I want. So we kind of use some of those rote sentences to compose. So we work on getting all the words together, they fill in the word. And then when they start to have kind of those, call them schemas, it's not really schemas, but they kind of have that pattern. It's easier for them to now substitute other verbs or other pronouns. You have, I have this, you have that. So then sometimes you can work on varying the verb or varying the noun or varying the proper noun or pronoun too. So yes, pictures, drawings, songs are also great too. I am not the music person, but I do know some therapists that are phenomenal with that. And, you know, what are some things we might work on? So I like how this is written because it's really like the bones of what we do from our expressive language. What do? We want to improve the child's ability to express their wants and needs. We want them to be able to express their thoughts and ideas, tell stories, relate events to others, participate in group discussions. So a lot of what you see too is these are goals. You know, help, like I wrote a goal, child really struggles with expressing how he's feeling. So I think we needed to work on the vocabulary of feelings and then identifying what that emotion is with the word. You know, he knows one, and that's mad and angry. So I think he has a lot more frustration and things. I think there's a lot more going on. And so we're working on all the different emotion words so he can then express himself more in the moment. So those are just some things. I like how this is a real nice, like I said, bare bones of exactly what we do. And a lot of the goal targets. Okay, now I can't, let me stop the share. So let's talk about the session for a few minutes. I will post more updates about due dates and things. Right now, we're worried about module 9. And then we'll have some leeway. So I don't want anyone flipping out about, oh my gosh, what do I need to do? Don't, hold on, I want to shut that. Why won't that shut? There we go. So let's go to the assignment. We have, one moment. Okay. So it's just like our other project that we did. So we're really looking for, you know, teach the strategies. Here's the plan, and I'll repost the session plan. It's the same session plan that we used in the receptive language project, but I'll repost it for you. So like I said, and I want in the video just an explanation of why you pick the activity to address the goals. So the goals are here. So I just have 5 to choose from. So pick one of those and you know, look at what activity can I do to address this goal. So remember, all we're looking for are pick the goal and then pick the strategies. So basically what I'm looking for is, did your activity attempt to address the goal? That's what we're looking for. And again, focus on the goal, not necessarily the activity. Any other questions?
I have a question about the therapy session plan. So I submitted it already.
Okay.
But I picked 2 goals.
Yeah, it's 2 goals. Didn't it say 2
Oh,
goals?
okay.
Sorry.
Oh, no, you just said 1 goal. That's why I was like,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Did
One
I
goal.
do extra work? Wow.
No. Sorry. Yes, 2 goals. But the activity for the goal. So the goal and the activity.
Okay, thank you.
We have done them different ways. Like I've done 3 activities for the same goal. This is what you will do. Like for instance, we were just, I was just talking to my SLPA, and sometimes I run things by her that we do in class. And she was like, gosh, I should have done more plans. She's like, we need to do more plans, because yes, that's all I do. Hey, I have this new goal. Well, what activity am I going to do to address it? Or how do I need to break it down and scaffold it down? We have one particular challenging client because she's very complicated. I've never worked with a client quite like her, and she definitely is challenging. And my SLPA and I, we talk about her all the time because she's hard to plan for. Her sessions are hard to plan for because her skills, she's like really, really high in some areas, and then some she doesn't even have any of the foundational skills. And it's hard for us to predict sometimes what she does and doesn't have. So she's like really working on how to like scaffold it up or scaffold it down. You know, how do I make it easier? How do I make it harder? That's definitely what you do as a therapist all day, every day. So I'll post some more updates. I'm going to update some timelines. If people are struggling with due dates and things, let me know. And if you're having any other issues, you know, I hope everybody's been able to access it. I was trying to check. I think everyone's been able to log in now, but if you're having any other issues, please let me know.
Okay, also, I left a like, it's possible to get some feedback before the actual due date. Okay.
Yes,
Good.
yes. If you left me a note, I will look at them.
Okay, awesome.
Okay.
Last thing, sorry, just to make sure, like, so, like, we're on module 9, so everything is just for module 9, and everything else, even if it's not updated yet, like, we're not, I mean, if we want to work ahead, I guess we can, but
You
like,
can, yes.
okay.
I would, like I said, right now, if you're like, what do I need to worry about? Worry about module 9 at the moment. And then we'll get everybody caught up. Obviously, this was not any of your fault. So we're not penalizing people right now. So I just want to help support everybody getting back up to speed. So
Okay,
if anybody's
thank you.
struggling, let me know. We'll get you guys going, okay? So this week, if you, before, like I said, I haven't even been able to read all the emails and all the decisions. It looks like we're extending it. I know not everybody can extend a semester, etc. So we'll get you guys through this, I promise.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Have a good
Okay.
night.